Here we can see the map. This is the map of the highlighted, the colored portions of the map, as you can see in the shades of blue. This is parts of eastern Nepal and Sikkim. If I leave aside Bhutan, now if I join the borders, the lower borders of Nepal with those of Sikkim, there we get the area of North Bengal. So this is the area where the Limbus are indigenous. These are the native places of the tribe, and this land is known as Limbu One, or the land of the Limbus. Now, this it is this tribe is known by the ethnonym Limbu. The name of the language as well as the name of the community is known by the name of Limbu. They also call themselves Yakthungba, Limbus or Yakthungba. And this, as mentioned in my previous slide, this tribe is indigenous to the regions of eastern Nepal, parts of Sikkim, in North Bengal, especially in the districts of Darjeeling and Kalimpong. Uh, some speakers are found in Assam as well, and with an amendment in the year 2002, this Limbu tribe was added to the list of scheduled tribes in West Bengal. There are around 40 tribes listed in the list of scheduled tribes. Uh, it was added along with the community of Tamang, and according to the census of India, that is to followed by those in West Bengal. We have 921 speakers of the Limbu language, and followed by Assam, where we have around 780 speakers of the language. Now, these are my main two objectives. The first is to provide a description of the varied birth, death, and marriage, and to understand the significance of these rituals and customary practices that are related to the above cultural aspects. Okay. The first, I'll be talking about the rituals that take place at the time of childbirth. The first ritual is Sapok Chomen Mangkoma. This is performed at a time when the child is in the womb of the mother. Uh, he is an unborn child, and it is performed mainly for the protection and safeguard of the mother, the health of the mother, and a safe childbirth, as well as for a good health of the child, of the unborn child. Uh, and it is meant, at the time, it is meant for both the mother and the unborn child. The next ritual which I'll be talking about is that called Yangdang Pongma. It is a name giving ritual to the child. Uh, Once a child is born in a Limbu household, a few days of impurities are generally followed. If the baby born is a girl, 3 days of impurities are followed, and if the baby born is a boy, 4 days of impurities are followed. And during this period of birth pollution, community members refrain from visiting the particular household, and even if they have to visit the household for some work, they abstain from consuming any food items and such. And that is the way they follow the impurities. And once these days of impurities are over, that is 3 days for a girl child and 4 days for a boy child, uh, generally a priest, who are termed as Pedangmas, they are called, and they are given the task or the duty of clearing those impurities in the name of, it can be called a worship or prayer that they offer to their native gods and goddesses. Uh, and once this name giving ceremony is done and the child is given a name, there is an additional interesting aspect to this ritual of Yangdang Pongma. That is, the priest is given an additional duty of introducing the child to his new environment, or to his new home. Like in the evening of the ritual of the day of the Yangdang Thongma is followed, he carries the child out of the house for the first time and introduces him to the environment. He introduces him to the earth, the sky, the stars, moon, etc., and blesses him and kind of makes him aware of the new place that he has come to. Okay. So next is the customary practices that are associated with death. Now, death that is caused due to natural causes is called masingma in the language, and the practices for female death of a female and that of a male is slightly different. Uh, it is this masingma is meant for those who face, and the Limbus have a customary practice of treating the deceased person in a ritualistic manner. Once the person dies, he is no longer kept on the bed and is placed, brought down onto the floor. A silver coin is placed over his forehead, over the forehead of the deceased person, and two kerosene lamps are lit on both sides of the corpse. If that if the corpse is that of a woman, a sickle is placed at the corner of the body, and if it is a man, a knife or a kukri is placed at the corner of the uh, corpse. And also the carriages that are prepared for carrying the deceased person are slightly different for males and females. For males, four vertical bamboos are placed, are tied, uh, and they are prepared as carriage frames. And if the deceased is a woman, three bamboos are placed vertically to prepare the carriage frame. Now, if an interesting thing to note here is also the once the person dies, there is a covering of the body with a shroud, white cloth with a shroud, and it is important to know that the buying of that particular shroud has to be done in not in a folded manner. The person who sells the cloth, the shroud, also knows the purpose of the shroud, and he sells in a where the pleats are broken, the folds are broken, and they are sold in a jumbled up way. That is how the shroud is to be bought from the market, and they are not to be bought in a folded pleated manner. The Limbus practice both burial and cremation of the corpse. If the family is well off, they arrange a wooden box to carry the dead body to the graveyard. And if it is difficult for them to afford a wooden box, they prepare the carriage frames made by bamboos. So this is the customs about the dead in Limbus. Next, I'll move on to the rituals that takes place at the time of marriage. Now, Limbus generally favor tribal endogamy and strictly practice clan exogamy. However, as a result of developing standards as a result of influences from the other neighboring cultures, a Limbu family often sends their children abroad for education or employment purposes, and this at times results in tribal exogamy. Clan exogamy is strictly followed in the community. If anyone ignores the practice of clan exogamy, they are delivered severe penalties by the community members. In this particular ritual, that is Him Tekwa, I would like to mention that marriage in a Limbu community takes place in both the household of the bride as well as the house of the groom. walk over two copper vessels. They are filled with water and they are covered with white clothes. She is made to walk over them and enter the house of the groom. And she is welcomed by her in laws and the other family members who bless her and sprinkle uh, rice grains mixed with curd. So that is a kind of welcoming the bride to the house, as well as taking her to the place of where the wedding will be conducted. Next is the ritual of Leithim. Leithim is literally translated as four rituals. Li means four in Limbu, and Thim means ritual. It is also known as more frequently known as Charkalam, and this particular ritual takes place in the house of the bride. Now, one interesting aspect to note here is that once the wedding is over at the household of the groom, the wedding procession and the couple, they have to visit the house of the bride to complete the process of marriage. Now, they are accompanied especially by their friends and relatives, and not by their parents. The parents of the couple are not allowed to accompany the couple for Charkalam or Likim. Especially the friends and the relatives are allowed to accompany them. And once they reach the house of the bride, the wedding procession is made to wait under a shade. They are not allowed to enter the house of the bride. It is a custom to make them wait outside a shade. A shade is prepared, and it is the custom to make them wait under the shade. And there are representatives from both the side of the groom side as well as the bride side who come and exchange few words. Uh, the representative of the bride side has questions the representative of the groom side, like from where are you coming, or what is the purpose of your visit. So these are the questions that they are generally asked, and they have and in response they have to give them details about their native places, about their village names or their clan names. They have to give details about their native details, and mention the purpose of the visit, that is, they are coming for completing the process of the marriage into the house of the bride. And after all these details are exchanged, after the bride's representatives gets all these, and then they are given the permission to enter the house. And that is how this ritual is performed of leaping. Okay. Now, the significance of the first ritual that I mentioned is that of Sapok Chongma, Sapok Chomen Mangkoma. Here, the significance lies in the if the ritual is not performed in the name of the child, it might result in exclusion or not recognizing the rights of the child when he or she is grown up. Uh, if they are, later they are asked questions like whether Sapukchumeng Mankuma is performed in their names, if it is a yes, then they are given full acceptance, they are given full recognition within the community. And if it is a no, then they often are excluded from the social rights of the community. The next ritual that I talked about, that of Yangdang Pongma, the significance majorly lies when the priest introduces or carries the child out of the house for the first time and introduces him to his new environment, to his new home, to his new parents, and uh, that of the earth, star, moon, and sky that I was talking slightly beforehand. So this is a kind of formal introduction, a ceremonial act of introducing and establishing the relationship of the child with his new environment. Uh, the ritual of Himthekwa is mainly an official recognition for the bride into the house of the groom, and it is mainly done to give her an acceptance and recognizing her as an inclusion, as a family member of the new family that she is going to be a part of, and welcoming her into the household, and also taking her onto the uh, place of the wedding. Okay. In conclusion, the Limbus have their unique traditions and culture. An assessment of the cultural aspects of childbirth, death, and marriage of a community provides a picture to understand their interesting cultural behavior and habits, and also the ways that help them to identify as a tribe. And especially in the districts of Darjeeling and Kalimpong, uh, there are many, the Limbus coexist with those of other neighboring communities, and they are under the influence of the dominant culture. But yet, still, they are the community is deeply rooted in their traditional customs and social norms. And I would like to mention here that the number of rituals and customs among the Limbu community are much wider than the ones that I have discussed just now. These are the references that I have used in my presentation. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajashree. That's a quite interesting topic. So, Ratul, should we have the question answer session at the end of all the presentation, or should we have it now?
Let's have it at the end. Let's have it at the end. কারণ নাহলে টাইম
Okay,
ম্যানেজমেন্টের
and
টাফ তো
Ratul, I think, Potit Pavan said that he has made a Google form for the question answer part. So, I don't know whether it
yes.
has been shared or not. So, could you please ask
It
him?
has been shared already in all the participants group, but after today's session at 7:30 dot,
Okay,
we will reshare that in all the participant groups again. এবং প্রতিদিনই আমরা আমাদের সেশন শেষ হয়ে যাওয়ার
okay.
পরে গুগল ফর্মটি শেয়ার করে দেব প্রতিদিন,
Okay.
কোনো
Okay,
অসুবিধা
that
নেই।
is good. That is good. Okay. Okay. So thank you, Ratul. So should we have our next participant? Sujoy Mochari is here.
Yes, sir, present.
Hello.
Hello.
So Sujoy, তুমি এখন করতে পারবে তো মানে presentation? Will you be able to
Yes, sir,
present
yes.
now?
Yes, sir. Yes, of
Okay.
course, why not?
So yeah. So you have 15 minutes, Sujoy, and plus 2 minutes more extra time. But don't go beyond it because we have to manage time also. Okay. And please make your
Okay, okay.
presentation precise and short. Thank you. Please go ahead. All the
Okay,
best.
okay. Okay. Good evening to you all. First of all, I would like to say thank you so much giving me this kind of opportunity to share my paper. It is extremely privileged and delighted for me. Especially, I would like to thank Patit Pavan sir who encouraged to me write this paper. My paper name is Bathu, the Religion of Bodos, to study in diverse perspective. In this paper, I am dealing with linguistical, alphabetical, historical, philosophical, and musical perspective about Bathu. Aim and objectives of this paper is to study deep meaning of Bathu, to study how the Bathu religion relation with philosophy and ethics, to study Bathu religion changing from traditional due to other religious influences. Actually, in this paper, I would like to deal with, first of all, introduction, after that meaning of the holy word Bathu, Sijo and its interpretation, Bathu and other deities, and worship and worshipper. Of course, last I will conclude it. Okay, we are going to introduction. India is a land of unity and diversity from east to west, north to south. It is a land of multilingual, multicultural, and multi-religious land. Especially tribes have own tradition, custom, rituals, food habit, belief, and practices. When we talk about the Bodo tribe, they have been known as Kiratas in Puranas. The term Bodo is derived from Tibetan word Bod, which means homelands, and they are also known as Kachari. This Kachari is derived from Kachar, which means near the river. Bodos are belongs to Indo-Mongolian group. Linguistically, they are Tibeto-Burmese. The language of Bodos, also known as Bodo, B.H. Hodgson has first used term Bodo denoted ethnic language word. The geographical situation of Bodo are basically living in Assam near the Brahmaputra Valley, Nepal, Of course, in the Arunachal Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, and western part of the Himachal Pradesh, and of course in the they are the living in the northern part of West Bengal. Northern part of West Bengal and Nepal borders, they are known as the Matches. Eventually, they are living in the Chittagong in Bangladesh. The Bodos are started to settle down Indian subcontinent since the second millennium BC. Bodos have not own written records, but for the Bodo Museum study, they are using the Devanagari script. The Constitution of India, 22nd December in 2003, the Bodo language has been recognized under 8th schedule. Okay, now I'm going to the meaning of Hollywood Bathu. Uh, Bathu is the chief deity of Bodo, which is, God, it is known as the Madai. Bodo community, basically, this is the oldest religion, Bathu in Bodo society. It's placed northeastern side of Bodo's house. This pious word Bathu, Bathow, it is the combination of two words, Ba and Tho, Thow. Ba means five and Thou means deep. His deep theological existence. The philosophically, Bathu is the owner of five elements. Swell, in Bodo it is known as Ha, water, Dei, air, or fire, or air, bar, sky, Okrang. And Bathu is also strained for creator, savior, and destroyer. Linguistically, Bodos are Tibeto-Burmese. If we talk about alphabetical perspective, Bathu, Bathow, it is the word which is every single words of Bodos originated from this five alphabet. I wrote in my paper some example, which is that, that five elements of Bathu, Ha, which is also included in HHA, Dai, DWI, Dai in English water, W is included, ORR, O is included, Bar means air, B included, Okrang, OHA included. If we talk about another example of the Bodo, I wrote in one sentence like the Mahai Thang, which is in English we can say, where are you going? In sentence you can see that Mahai Thang, AHA, THAO included. And another, of course, example, Fai, that means the calm, WA, it is also included. If we talk about in the musical perspectives of Buddhist communities, from musical also, that originated from this Vatho word, like the Kham, 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 long drum, Sifung, Sifung, which is flute, and Jotha, small cymbal. Jotha. These are the some that the traditional instrument of the Bodo. Now you can see that the Kham, H included, and the Sifung, U is included, and Jotha, Otha included. And in my paper, I also wrote some interesting thing, which is that the hymns of the Bodos when they are the worshipping. I'm reading first of all in the Bodo. After that, I will translate in English. Rang rasi maitha haji bari gongtham, satam jeng jadeng nungcher gohodam. Arjigra Khangra Fajabgra, San Hor Jiu Maniku Naikangra. Now you can see, which is I translated in English, O Lord, Creator, Savior, Destroyer, this tree you are the only one, O Almighty God, the progenitor, the inventor, nurture, destroyer. See our soul from day to night, night to day. It is something that interesting that which is these five, that alphabet also, belongs to in this hymn of Bodos. Now that the Sijo and its interpretation, the Sijo tree, Euphorbia splendens, is the symbol of Batho. The sacred word Sijo, Sijow, also composition of two words, Si and Jo. Si means highest and Jo means soul. The body of human is mortal, but the human soul is immortal. As the Sijo plant is not mortal, it is immortal. Sijo tree is surrounded by a round of small bamboo stripes within the five beads, symbolizing the religious and spiritual principles. Vathu, that is the five, that principle, which is I already mentioned the earlier. The fence is erected either 18 or the 16 bamboo stakes. Every stake cut in the middle and made into parts inside the ground remains the same. One stake in front of Bathu cut 16 or 18 small splits twisted. It is traditionally known as Dautubika, which is in English, we can say that the replica of Jobhord. This Dautubika is single symbol of gurus, which is signifying when anyone worship Batu, these gurus are witness of them. And also some of this community believe that Dautubika is a formation in Bodo known as the Banaigra, Narchar Khangra, and Destruction Fazabgra. Batu is Siju, Siju is Batu. The combination of 5 elements. It is deep philosophical connected with Batu religion. Bodhus are showing this thought by the help of hymns, which is I again wrote one hymn which is belongs to that Bodo language. Sijauनि Syria Siriva, Tigirni Bikonga Kongba, Sifungni Gudunga Gudungba, Batu Bandu Banduba, Boruni Achara Bumanba. In English, that the Siju plant Euphorbia splendens has 5 spines, elephant apple has 5 shells, flute has 5 holes, the Vatu has 5 rights. Which is, that Bodhus are basically when worshipping as a Batu, they are worshipping in front of the Siju plant, which is the Euphorbia splendens. Now, nowadays, the Bodhus are also worshipping lots of the gods and goddesses, like they, the Saraswati, Lakshmi, Ganesha, and of course, the main goddess of Bodhi community, they are known as Madai. And of course, the main place of uh, Mainau Madai, it is the inner. And those are the Lakshmi, Saraswati, and Bisahari, Sharimadai, the place of they are known as the Thansali. And of course, they are also, worship the Tulsi plant. The disciple of Batu, Tulsi plant at the right side of Sijo plant, it is, signifying truth and pure. And Jatrashi, Justika Asmiya, Clark, it is the symbol of wisdom and knowledge. Jatras is planted at the Vathu side of the Sijo. I mean the left side of the Sijo. Now you can see that this is the something kind of the interesting when I'm writing my paper. That time who was the first worshipper of the Bathu? This question of answer is the very much controversial, and this is also answer which is changing from that one place to another place in the Bodo community. But according to research and oral tradition, of course, in the folk tales, which is I'm trying to originate the worship of Batu, who was the first. Okay, now you can see that ancient time period during the Stone Age, people's livelihood was nomadic. Surviving was not easy for them. But so many groups of people are moving one place to another for various reasons, like searching food, for habitation, to save themselves from animals, etc. As we know that the time that human beings have not any kind of the specific shelter. One of the nomadic group member was Mansingh Singh Barai. Same as well as this group hold a moving from one place to another place. After the walking and for other activities, they are tired. So they look raised in night near the river. Next day, early morning, Mansingh Singh Barai was going for searching food, but he didn't finding anything. He is much hunger, but passionately trying for food. During the time, one divine power calling him, Mansingh Singh literary surprise of unknown voice. He is subsequently asking to him that Nangchar, which is in a Bodo word, and who are you? Divine power replied that I am the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. I am the creator, savior, and the destroyer. Again, Mansingh Singh scared and politely asked to him, what do you want to me? Divine replied, in very pathetic, I much said for you all. You all are moving place to place, which is very much difficult in mentally as well as physically. I'm suggesting that it is my commitment. Go settle down near the river and start to cultivate and do the shelter. Especially for food, you all not need to move one place to another place. After for this injunction, Mansingh Singh was delighted. Moreover, divine proposing himself, I am the owner of soil, water, fire, air, and sky. These 5 elements Mansingh Singh trying to keep in mind, but again and again forgotten. Again, divine tried to memorize to him Mansingh Singh, but he is again not able to, that remind it, keep in mind. Consequently, divine introduced Sijo plant, which has 5 splits. each 5 splits introducing that this is swell, this is water, this is fire, this is air, this is sky. After this methodology, Mansingh Singh retained, initially Mansingh Singh come back in group, narrated all the incident. Again, he is trying to inform 5 elements, but reminded only 3 elements, swell, water, fire, and forgot of 2 elements. Thereafter, he calls all of his group members where incident was happened. He tried to call divine, but didn't come out any response. After he became acquainted pseudo plants, remembered all the 5 elements in form the swell, water, fire, air, and sky. Now everyone asking Yeacher. That means in English, who is he? Yeacher, who is he? Ye Iswar, he is Iswar. Now Bodos are claiming that from the Ye Iswar, this was from the Ye Iswar, this Iswar was word came out. After the suggestion of the divine, they are settled down near the river. Comparatively, for food or the other regions, they need to move one place to another place. Okay. And now you can see I gave something example. If we look at over here, the Munda community, that the Birsa Munda, which is, that the 18th and 19th century during the colonial period, he was the cure of diseases. People are believed that they are connected with the God. Same as well as Badu community, they are the started. I mean, that nomadic tribal and group of the tribal, other tribal, I mean the others one. They are the belief that Mansingh Singh was, connected with God, and even he cured diseases and he protect from the, that evil power. And according to, B.N. Arjinari, he was the great scholar and historian in the Bodo community. He said that in India, subcontinent, Bodos are settled down in the 2nd millennium BC. I mean, during the, the mature phase of the Harappan civilization. But some of Bodo community in this group, they are the claiming that during the Bathu, history didn't reach, and history never reached to find out origin of the Bathu. Okay, this is the this is the group of the community claiming that Mansingh Singh was the first worshipper of the Bathu. Now we are going to the next. It is that that according to my research, according to my observation, the Bathu practice is mainly 2 types. One is the sacrificial, and another is the non-sacrificial. Non-sacrificial basically home and the arrows. And sacrificial, they are the worshipping in front of the Bathu, pigs, pigeon, duck, and the fruits and other things. Now you can see that due to other religious influences, philosophy of Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity, of course, for the modernization, now they are the that worship style. It is the replacing by the fruit and the flowers. But still, of the this community, they are the worshipping something kind of the sacrificial kind of the style, and that Bathu is not Hinduism. Bathu religion is Bathuism, but due to Vedic religious influence, of course, for the Aryans, greatly influenced Buddhist community. Even you can see during the medieval periods and 15th and 17th century, because of the Bhakti and Sufi movement, it is also greatly influenced in the Buddhist community, which is in the, they have not something kind of the before, a shrine center. I mean, the worship center like the mosque or the temple and even the stupa. But after that, because of this kind of the, that greatly Bhakti and the Sufi movement, they are started to construct the temple, for the worship center. And, that the like flowing of the river always changing. The direction same as well as Bathuism also taking the something kind of the different kind of the shape. In the Padu community, Bathu Puja, which is the great important significant for them. It is basically, worship in the Basak month during the Bengali calendar. Okay, during this worship, Purohit or Oja as well as family members participated. Some of these, still following, of course, I already mentioned that the sacrificial kind of the worship, they are called it the Nuauni Gadan Madai Hanai. And of course, those are not following the sacrificial. They are the saying Gadan Vatharni Puja Hanai. And of course, some of this community nowadays, they are the worshiping, the fire burning worship, which is known as the home, HOAM, home. That this home styles, it is greatly influenced from the that non-sacrificial
Sujoy,
sacrificial
excuse
kind of
me.
the ceremony.
Sujoy,
Yes,
hello, Sujoy.
yes, I am
Yeah, could
hearing.
you please conclude?
Yes, of course, I
Yeah,
will
can you
conclude.
conclude it?
Please give me. Yes, yes. Can you give me 2 minutes,
Yeah,
please?
please conclude. You have
Yes, yes.
yeah, 2 minutes. Take 2 minutes and
Okay,
conclude
okay.
it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, now we can see that those are the worship in the hymn kind of the style. I mean the arrow style. They are the that praying in front of the battle, which is I mentioned the that one hymn, which is that in the same in Bodo language. Obong Lauri Anan Gosai, be songsarau nung sarjigiri, ha they or bar okrang, sarang kalam kamsiko, फोजालांदो मुलुगखौ बोस्रोलांदो गोजोम बोसोरखौ रग बियादै खैफोद आफोदाव आलो गोजोनै रंजा बाजायै लाखिदो अननाय होदो बोथोर गोदानाव, which is in English that Almighty God the Father in the world, you are the creator of the soil, water, fire and sky, light and darkness, waken the world, sweep away world year, leprosy, disease, disaster, and misery. Bring the new year. Love, we ask. Straighten, we ask. You are our Father. Which is, that this is the something kind of the Bodo community. I already claimed that they have not the own kind of the script, but for their tradition, for their custom, for their rituals, belief, and practices, the one institutions Bodos are made up, which is known as the Abru, All Bathu Religion Union in 1922, which is they are the taking the something kind of the dimension to preserve the Bathu religion. They are the producing lots of the secondary sources. They are the doing the conferences. Actually, Bathu religion, it is the something kind of the significant, which is the surrounding with the 5 elements. This is the something kind of the scenario which is I mentioned it. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Hello.
Sujoy. Thank you very much. It's a wonderful presentation. We came to know of a different religion, a very significant religion, ritual actually, not religion, sorry, a significant ritual practice Bodo communities and Kachari communities of Assam, and also in West Bengal and in Bangladesh also. So we'll have the question answer session at the end of all the presentation. Can we go to the next presentation? That is Oishi is there, or Shudesna,
Yes, sir,
has
I'm
she
here.
joined? Okay, Aishi, you were there, and Shudesna is not there, Ratul, right? Sujoy, you can mute yourself. Yeah, thank you. Oishi, you can go ahead with your presentation. Give a short
Okay, sir.
introduction of yourself, and then start your presentation. Okay. Time
Okay, sir.
is 15 minutes, and you can take 2 minutes more. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Good evening to everyone. I am Oishi Bhattacharya from University of Hyderabad. I am pursuing my integrated master's final year at the Center for Applied Linguistics and Translation Studies in University of Hyderabad. So today I am going to present on the topic Modernity and Servitude, locating the language of the margins within the Bhadralok families in the 19th century Bengal. Let us introduce this topic with the beginning of Renaissance in Bengal. The beginning of Renaissance can be roughly identified with the beginning of British Raj in India in 1857, just after the Great Revolt. The Bengali Bhadralok community was a product of the Bengal Renaissance, who were called so because of their Gentile nature, according to historian Sushobhon Sarkar. This particular community received Western formal education during that period. The Bengali Bhadralok community wished to provide Western education to the women of the families as well, that is, to their daughters and their wives. The women were initially homeschooled, but later on, schools and colleges were established for women's education. A handful of these women who were educated at that period of time later on took to the Western tradition of writing memoirs, where both the dialects of the urban upper middle class women as well as the women who used to work as the domestic workers in these households are prominent. My paper firstly aims to understand Kolkata as an urban space and to locate Bhadralok as a section of importance within that particular urban space in the 19th century. Secondly, it tries to provide an account of the social reproductive labor within the Bhadralok households and to understand the nature of participation of the educated women in the social reproductive labor within the Bhadralok households. It also tries to co-create a method as well as extract content from the memoirs written by the educated upper middle class women in order to understand the language of the household in the late 19th century Calcutta. This paper is based on the qualitative analysis of the memoirs written by the educated women during the late 19th and early 20th century in Kolkata. The memoirs of women is considered here since, firstly, we observe that the social reproductive labor or the language associated with it refers to specific gendered role in the household. Secondly, the detailed analysis of these memoirs, more importantly, the content which remains specifically silent about the women's work, even when written by women, is also analyzed in this paper. Let's begin by this analysis with the making of Calcutta. The making of Calcutta can be traced from 1690 to 1800 AD approximately. Before Calcutta emerged as a city, there were other cities in Bengal like Gaur, Rajmahal, Dhaka, and Murshidabad at different times, as well as numerous port cities like Chattogram and Shoptogram. When the river Hooghly became less navigable at Shoptogram, there was a requirement of a new port city. The Dutch and the Portuguese families initially settled at Hooghly. Later on, a few families of the Boshaks and Shades further settled further downstream at the village of Gobindapur, north of which there was the cotton and yarn market known as the Shutanuti. Between Gobindapur and Shutanuti, there was the settlement of Kolkata. Although the arrival of British can be traced back to the 1690s with the arrival of Job Charnock in the city, Kolkata witnessed settlements by various classes of people at a much earlier period. The language of different classes. Just like any other city, the city of Calcutta witnessed migration by different classes of people from the neighboring villages at the beginning. During the making of Calcutta, however, Bengali was used only as a colloquial language. Persian was widely used as the official language, which was later replaced by English with the advent of the British. Sanskrit was taught in the tolls and Arabic was taught in the madrasas. Urdu was widely spoken by the Muslim community of Calcutta. Making of the Bhadralok community. Numerous schools and colleges were established by the British for spreading Western formal education in order to build a clerical section. The men who received this education gradually came to be known as the Bhadralok community, who comprised the upper middle class and middle class Bengali community. The Brahmo Samaj established by Raja Ram Mohan Roy in 1828 played a crucial role in this respect. The leaders of Brahmo Samaj like Keshav Chandra Sen and Shivnath Shastri were educated upper middle class men who encouraged the spread of Western formal education among both men and women. Initiation of women's Western formal education. Before the arrival of the British, the women of the Hindu upper class families used to learn how to read and write from the Vaishnavis who taught them the basics of Bengali. The Muslim upper caste women were taught Arabic so that they could read the Quran. After the arrival of the British, a school for the Christian girls was opened in 1807, for the Anglo-Indian girls in 1811, and for the other girls in 1819. However, the middle-class families of Calcutta did not send their daughters to these schools then. Hindu female school was established by Sir John Eliot Drinkwater Bethune in the year 1849, but none was convinced enough to send their daughters to that school initially. Debendranath Tagore, one of the notable Brahmo men, sent his eldest daughter Shodamini to that school, who was one of the very first female students of Calcutta. Gradually, girls from the other families started receiving Western education in schools. Bethune College was established in the year 1879. Chandramukhi Bosu and Kadumbini Gangopadhyay were the first two graduates of Bethune College. How are the women's memoirs significant? Many of the women who received Western education took to the Western tradition of writing memoirs. In these memoirs, we get an account of the domestic work which the women used to take part in. Also, we come across a social category who used to help the women of the upper middle class families in the domestic work, who were popularly known as the dashi. However, we hardly come to know about the specific work which they used to take part in, or any specific dialect which they used to speak. In other words, there was a constant invisibilization of their work as well as their dialect in the women's memoirs. In the memoirs by Sharoda Sundari Devi, Kailash Bashini Devi, Gyanuda Nandini Devi, or Prafullomoyi Devi, the writers write in detail about the household chores which they used to perform on a daily basis, like cleaning rooms, washing, cooking food, and so on. Although they mention the presence of dashis in their households, none of them specify exactly what kind of work they used to take part in or in which dialect they used while speaking. However, there are certain exceptions. We will speak of three such exceptions in this paper. First exception is Jiboner Jhorapata by Sorola Devi Choudhurani. The author writes about the dashis who took care of her when she was a child in detail in this memoir. She recalls Jadu Dashi as a soft-spoken Bengali lady who used to take care of her during infancy. However, she recalls that Mongola Dashi, who used to look after her at Jora Shaku, was a strict lady. She was a Hindi speaker Goala by caste who used to slap her whenever necessary. Also, Sorola Devi Choudhurani recalls Shankari Dashi as the lady who used to tell fairy tales to the children. These incidents can be traced back to the years 1880 to 1890 approximately. The second exception, in her memoir Purbo Katha, Prashannamoyi Devi writes about an incident which took place when she went to her in-laws' home after marriage. As soon as she stepped inside with a huge group of dashis, her mother-in-law snapped, "Boer nai Robert Thai boer sathe sholo shodai." This is actually a Bengali idiom which means that the bride does not have a proper accommodation, but she has arrived with a lot of domestic helps. From this particular incident, like more precisely from this particular idiom, it becomes clear that the female domestic workers, that is the dashis, were not much welcome in the Bhadralok households. The third exception is Binoyini Devi's Kahini. In her book Kahini, Binoyini Devi writes about how she used to chop vegetables or fish, prepare spices, and cook every day. She writes about how the dashis used to help them in these household chores. She mentions that some of them came from the district of Joshore of the then undivided Bengal, but she does not specify any of their dialects in her memoir. Now we can come to a conclusion, that is, both men and women of the upper middle class Bhadralok families were benefited by the Western education, which was a result of the Bengal Renaissance. During the late 19th and early 20th century, household chores were considered as pious activities and were as important as the Western education. But a continuous invisibilization of the activities and language which the female domestic workers used to take part in, or which the female domestic workers used to speak, who were known as the dashi, is widely evident from the memoirs written by these educated women. But there are certain drawbacks of my paper, that is, not enough information could be collected due to lack of time. I could not conduct any survey, and as a result, I could not provide any concrete data. Definitely, I wish to work more on this particular topic in future. And these are certain articles, research papers, and books which I referred to while writing this paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Aishi. Thank you very much. That's that's an interesting topic which you talked about today, and the Bhadralok concept and how it evolved over the years, and still we use it in many contexts. So I think we have one more presenter, but I don't know whether if she is here. That is Sudeshna Dotto. Ratul, are you here? Ratul?
Yeah, I am here, but I don't know whether should I have reached out to her in the group. She
Uh-huh.
hasn't yet responded.
So shall
Let me
we? Okay.
just check
So should
once
we
more. I
wait?
will just request one second. Let's wait for just 2 minutes before we
Yeah, yeah,
proceed any
sure.
further. Let's wait for two
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah, sure, sure. Sure, sure, sure. Sure. Meanwhile, participants can write down their questions in the chat box, or you can ask directly to the paper presenters. If you want, you can write down
Yes, let's
your
proceed.
questions in the chat box, or yeah,
Yeah,
Ratul,
yeah.
please tell.
যেটা সুবিধা চ্যাট বক্সে হলেও কোয়েশ্চেন করতে পারেন। অন্য পার্টিসিপেন্টরা যদি ডিরেক্টলি স্কলারদের
Hmm.
প্রশ্ন করতে চান, প্লিজ মডারেট থ্রু
Hmm.
দি
Yeah,
চেয়ারপারসন। আমাদের চেয়ার রয়েছেন পুনেন্দ্রনাথ। পুনেন্দ্র উইল
yeah.
চেয়ার দ্য সেশন, এবং প্লিজ প্রসিড উইথ দ্য কোয়েশ্চেন সেকশন।
So whosoever is interested, you can ask your question. Anyone? So there is a question to Rajashree Dotto. Rajashree here?
Yes, sir.
Hello. There is a question in the chat box from Madhulina Bauri. She said, she asked that what is the difference between Sapok Komen and the Bengali ritual Shad, apart from the name, obviously. So she says if you can elaborate on it a bit.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you for the question. The main difference, obviously, there are similarities between Shad and this ritual of Sapokchomen. The main difference between these two is this Sapokchomen has a social significance considered a kind of necessity in the community. Like performing this ritual is a necessity in the Limbu community. If the child who is born has not has this Sapokchuman has not taken place in his or her name, later on in his life, it can result in deprivation from the social rights, or it can result in deprivation from uh, complete acceptance in the community. Once a child is grown up, or when he or she reaches the age of marriage, he is asked whether Sapukchomen is performed in his name when he was in the womb of his mother. If it is a yes, then there are no challenges and there are no issues. He is given full rights and recognition. And if it's a no, then there are many penalties or deprivation that he has to face if it has not taken place when he was unborn. And স্বাদে একটা জিনিস আমাদের একটা হয় যে একাধিকবার স্বাদ হচ্ছে, কখনো 5 মাসে কেউ দিয়ে থাকে, কেউ 7 মাসে, 9 মাসে। এই সাপোর্টমেন্টটা একবারই হয়। আর এটা মূলত আহ, শ্বশুর বাড়িতে হয়ে থাকে। The support takes place in the house of the in-laws. They are the initiators of this whole event. But most importantly, it is the social significance which is associated with Sapokchoman, which is not generally we get to see in Shad. So এটা হচ্ছে main difference.
So Saad is also performed at the father-in-law's house, right? Or at or the bride's paternal home. Where is it performed? সাতটা কোথায় হয়? মানে মেয়ের বাপের বাড়িতে না
এখানে
শ্বশুর বাড়িতে?
এখানে এই ক্ষেত্রে শ্বশুর বাড়িতে।
আচ্ছা, আর বেঙ্গলি ক্ষেত্রেও তো সেটা শ্বশুর বাড়িতে হয় না বাপের বাড়িতে হয়? For the Bengalis. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
Rajashri, am I audible?
হ্যালো হ্যালো
Rajashri,
Hello? Hello?
are you receiving us? Hello?
কেটে কেটে যাচ্ছে, কথাটা কেটে কেটে যাচ্ছে।
নেটওয়ার্ক ইস্যুস মনে হচ্ছে, একটুখানি ওয়েট করে কোশ্চেনটা করতে হবে।
আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে রাতুল, সেটা মানে ঠিক আছে, we can talk about it
গুগল
later. Rajashri, can you hear me now? রাতুল, শুনতে পাচ্ছিস তুই?
হ্যাঁ, আমি শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
কিছুটা আসছে, তারপরে কেটে
ওর
যাচ্ছে।
ওখানে নেটওয়ার্কে কোনো ইস্যু আছে।
হ্যাঁ, আমি সেটাই বলছিলাম, আমি সেটাই চেক করছিলাম আর কি। আহ, আহ, ঠিক আছে, যদি কমিউনিকেশনের প্রবলেম হয় তাহলে আমরা সেশনটাকে করা ডিফিকাল্ট হয় পূর্ণদা। ইফ এনিবডি এলস হ্যাজ এনি কোয়েশ্চেন উই ক্যান go on with it, or else সবাইকেই জানিয়ে রাখি গুগল ফর্ম অলরেডি পার্টিসিপেন্টস গ্রুপে করা হয়ে গেছে। If you have any questions, feel free to ask the questions. We will forward the questions to the respective scholars and the scholars will get back to you in their due course. এটা নিয়ে কোনো ব্যাপার নেই। We actually have
সুজয়,
কার
আর ইউ
কোনো
হিয়ার?
কোয়েশ্চেন আছে?
না, আমি একটু সুজয়ের
সুজয়?
সঙ্গে একটু কথা বলবো।
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sure.
Sujoy, where are you from, by the way? You didn't give your introduction.
Okay, my name is Sujay Mochari. I am from Alipurduar. I am, student of Jadavpur
Okay.
University, History Department.
Okay. So are you a Bodo speaker or Mech?
Actually, Bodus are in Bengal and Nepals. They are known as the Mech.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
You, I mean, okay, I got it. So, but you are the native speaker of Boro, right?
Yes, yes, yes. But the pronunciation,
Okay.
the something kind of the sound, it is the quite different from Assam Bodos, and specifically in the West Bengal Bodos,
Ha.
they're the quite something different.
Yeah, so I have lots of friends from this Assam who are Boro speakers. So I actually what I heard from that the ritual which you talked about, Matho, right? So it
Yes,
is,
yes.
as per my knowledge, I don't know whether I am right or wrong. So it is performed by some of the Boro community, but not all the Boros of Assam and this West Bengal. Am I right or not?
Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Because of this variant of the reason, because that 18th and 19th century gradually influenced by the Christianity, and of course for the globalization,
Mhm.
Bodos are also took something kind of the change their religion. Now you can see in the Assam and the Bengal
Mhm.
Bodos, they are also adopted the Christianity.
Yeah, and this you talked about the uh, goddesses like Hindu goddesses and all, and which has a
Yes,
different
yes.
connotation in your community. So, is it prevalent in other Bodo communities also?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I am totally speaking about the, that full of the Bodo community. I am mentioning that some of the Bodo communities, they are the worshipping something kind of the style is the different. Someone is worshipping,
Okay.
by the process of the, that sacrificial. Someone is the worshipping, which is I already mentioned that the Aros Methai. I mean the, that hymn song.
Hmm.
Even someone is the worshipping the home.
Hmm.
I mean the, that fire burning worship.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and also I went to this Kokrajhar once. My friend is there, so there I saw they planted a cactus plant there, and they worship there around the cactus plant. So and they I mean that cactus plant resemble Lord Shiva actually. So is it here also same? I mean like as it is performed as they I mean like perform the puja in a
Okay.
different way. Like the cactus plant represent Lord Shiva. So is it same in Alipurduar among your community?
Yes, yes, of course. You know that Batho, it is the significant which is, worshipping in front of the Euphorbia splendens. I mean, you already mentioned the cactus.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the one kind of the cactus.
Cactus, yeah.
But, said that during my research, of
Uh-huh.
course, I read some secondary sources. Most of the scholars, they are the, that
Uh-huh.
comparing with the, the Suju plant with the Lord Shiva. But this is actually,
Mhm.
that the Bathuism is the Bathuism. This is actually belongs to, the
Mhm.
greatly influence of the Vedic civilization and the Aryan culture, which is they are nowadays, that Lord Shiva as well as the, Siju plant even also.
Mhm. Okay, understood. Thank you, Sujay. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Aishi, I have a question actually. Aishi, are you
Yes,
here?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you talked about your this paper topic is quite interesting. I find it really interesting. But I would like to know, like you looked at the various materials, right? And you uh, try to show the Bhagavad aspect in one hand, and also I have read your abstract, and you try to show also the domestic help, which is still prevalent in today's uh, in today's world. Like everywhere there is domestic help and the concept of Bhadralok. So,
Yes, sir.
did you try to make comparison, or did you try to reflect uh, on the various aspects of how domestic help has been the concept of domestic help has been changed over the years, and also the concept of bhadralok. So have you tried to, I mean, kind of making a comparison or do a parallel study? Have you think of it?
Uh, Sir, I couldn't make that kind of parallel study. Definitely, I will consider this in
Mhm.
future. I really want to work more on this topic, sir.
Yeah, because your topic is, so you are in which department? Department of Applied
I am
Linguistics at
doing my
University of Hyderabad?
I'm doing integrated masters in language sciences at University of Hyderabad.
Okay, okay, that is great. Okay. So that's a good like and also you can reflect on the pathos and the ethos of the domestic life and how it has changed over the year. The concept has really changed. The concept of domestic help and and also the concept of bhadralok. And this concept has really changed. You can look at that at those uh, points.
Yes.
I'm really interested in to see your paper published somewhere. That's a good paper actually. That's a good one. Okay, that's all. And if you can you please share your paper? My MA in English literature, so kind of interested these studies.
Yes, sir, I can share my PPT with you. Sir,
Yeah,
how
okay,
will I share?
that would be
Can you
great.
please provide your
I I
email
uh,
Email
ID
it
or
to us,
I
email it to
yeah, I will
IBWTL2,
share in the group.
we will forward it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
That
sir.
Ratul.
Okay, sir, I will email it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so I
Thank you
guess
very
we
much.
can
Yeah.
call this session to an end. Thank you, Purnoda, for chairing
Eh?
this session. Actually, it would have been fantastic to end the session with a very good news, but unfortunately, we have just come to know of a very sad development. Eminent Indian academic Professor Shopon Kumar Chakraborty has just passed
Uh-huh.
away. We have been informed of that. So
Oh,
that's a pretty sad thing. He
that's a
has been a
great
great
sad
patron
news.
of academic activities in this country. He has participated in multiple conferences and seminars
Mhm.
organized by Jadavpur University, different departments of JU. He has been integral to the Department of English in JU as well as to the School of Cultural Text and Records, a former eminent academic from Presidency and University of Calcutta, and doctorate from Oxford University. We just lost a very big patron of higher
Yeah.
studies and research in India. It's a pretty
That's a very sad news.
saddening piece of
That's a
information,
very sad news.
very
Sad
sad news
news.
indeed. Uh, Pratik, I would
Yeah.
request as a
So was
co-organizer,
he
and of course,
sick?
I am pretty
Was
sure
he?
you
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, we can
Yeah, Ratul.
actually
Yes.
do one thing. Another session we can mention this, and we should mention the passing of Professor Chakraborty as a sort of a memorial for us, for all of us, for tomorrow. That is the
Yeah.
least that we can
Sure.
do to
Sure.
show our
Tomorrow.
respects.
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow we will do
Yeah.
that.
Sure. That would
Thank
be
you,
great. That's a
everyone.
great idea. Tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, we
We
will do
can have
that.
a
So
1 minute condolence.
yeah, definitely, that will be an excellent thing
So
to do
thank you,
tomorrow.
participants. Thank you, Shujoy. Yeah. Thank you, Shujoy. Thank you, Aishi, and thank you, Rajashree. And thanks a lot, Ratul, for being
Mhm.
there with me all this time. We can call it a day, and
No problem.
hopefully, I think it was a great session. Other sessions are going on, right, Ratul? We can join there. I mean,
Yeah, other sessions are still ongoing. They're
let's
about
see.
to end, and I am
Hmm.
pretty confident with the way Oishi, Shujoy, and Rajostri have presented their papers. They have presented their papers. Professor Chakraborty would have been proud. Thank you everyone for
Yeah,
this
yeah.
beautiful
Thank you. Thank
presentation.
you, Ratul. Good night, everyone. Take care.
Good night. Good night.
Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good night. Good night.